Now, mind flexing isn't just about thinking differently, it's about taking that different way of thinking and using it to develop a set of skills such as the ability to create. So mind flexing gives you this set of future-ready skills. And this expansive way of thinking that we're exploring at the moment gives you the ability to create. So this principle of creation is a timeless principle. But if we go back 2,000 years, since that point in time, people have been saying there is no new thing under the sun. And so often that's used as an excuse to not be creative. However, the meaning of that phrase was actually talking about the repetition of life at times. So actually the importance to be creative to shift that repetition. We then take a modern interpretation of it. The filmmaker Kirby Ferguson once expressed that everything is a remix. Every song, every movie, every meme, every idea, every invention, every discovery, everything we create is copied, transformed, and combined from our culture. And this gives a deeper understanding of the nature of creativity. So, for example, as they highlight in the film, everything is a remix. There are basic elements of creativity. So things may be copied, but they may be copied and then transformed. And then those transformations can be combined. So this act of constantly transforming and combining means there are constantly new things waiting to be created. We look at the same thought expressed by Mark Twain. He phrased it in terms of there is no such thing as a new idea. It is impossible. We simply take a lot of old ideas and put them into a sort of mental kaleidoscope. I love, though, how this phrase highlights creativity and the ability to invent new ways. Because if you take, for example, the term kaleidoscope and go, well, let me see what there is in the way of kaleidoscopes out in the world. You'll then discover, for example, the work of Laura Buckley, an Irish artist, who's created kaleidoscopes you can literally walk within to shift your perspective. So diving further into Sarah's thinking, how does she look at the world? What is this expansive way of thinking as an artist that could inform your work as a leader? Because again, so often people think narrowly about whose leadership principles they want to explore. But diving into the thinking of an artist can unlock new possibilities. So Sarah shared that I'm pushing it through this process that completely expands it to this heightened everyday reality, allowing the freedom to see things in different ways. And I love how our insight gives a deeper understanding about this expansive way of thinking. So that if you expand and reach new heights, so again, think of blue sky, expansive mind flexing, that height gives you the freedom to see things in different ways. So if you remain sitting in meeting rooms talking to the same people at ground level, then you become constrained in your thinking to that way of thinking. But the ability to elevate, whether it's physically, mentally, however you're doing it, gives you a fresh perspective on the world around you. So we can see here that you can get easily constrained to just what's possible. And that means you don't achieve greater impact without letting your mind run higher up to that impossible. So the sketching and drawing is actually just playing and broadening and expanding your thinking. But so many people, if you ask them to draw more than half of the room, will freeze up. Because we've come up with this false belief that we can't draw, or that there's a certain level that we need to draw to. But just as anyone can write a word down, anyone can create an image. So one of the techniques I've developed is how to speed coach a lot of people to have confidence about drawing. So here's how you do it. Ask everyone to grab a piece of paper or a post-it note and just draw a circle on it. And I let them know I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I'm not looking to see a perfect circle, just a rough circle. Then here's the key. You then ask them to look at that circle and imagine what they might be seeing, and to then label it. And here's the point. There is no right thing to see. This is expansive thinking. This is showing people how to vision. So I then asked people to call out what they've labelled. And sure, some people may have labelled it the same, but you can be certain across a group they will have written different things. So someone might shout out, it's the earth. Someone else might go, it's a picture of our customer. Someone else might go, actually, it's a chatbot. And then that's built a level of confidence about their drawing ability. So then you just ask them to add a couple more lines into things, to add in a bit more detail. And it doesn't matter how they draw it or what they draw, they're creating an image. And from there, we can then expand the images further with that sort of confidence exercise in place to then actually vision by visualizing what the future of that organization or that project could look like. So this is unlocking the ability in others to be creative. And to create, you invent with emotional connection. And that emotional connection is a really important part that a lot of people overlook or haven't had the experience around. Because it's easy to create random ideas that mean little to others. Orange whale, see what I mean? You can increase your creativity with greater impact by inventing new possibilities that emotionally connect and move others. So in this case, the phrase orange whale is completely random. So the idea there is it's jarring, and it shows you how if you create things that fail to go, how's it impacting on others? However, in this case, it actually works at a double level because the emotional impact I'm actually wanting to have is that jarring sort of sense. So the ability to think creatively, whether it's playing with images or words or products or systems, it's unlocking that future-ready skill that you have within you to be creative. And so moving forward, to become future-ready, you invent with emotional connection. We can see when we've looked at people like Yuri on this thing of navigating that unknown, to go beyond being responsive to become future ready, you have to step into that revolutionary space together. And you do that by inventing together with an emotional connection. So if we see that Mindflex in action now, how others do it. The organisation Canva, which produces online design tools, but so much more than that. So they enable people to actually create the future by designing anything. And they have design schools, so lessons where they connect people to understand concepts like branding and design and creativity. But they don't just do it for large organisations or startups, they also freely help non-profits to create a better world. And so as a result, they've built $1 billion business around this. And one of the co-founders, the CEO of Canva, is Melanie Perkins. And what Melanie shared in terms of her approach to the world is what we need in this world is a broad range of people achieving crazy big goals across every single industry. The stats can look frightening and it can seem intimidating when it's not a well-trodden path. But let's pave the path forward towards a better tomorrow and create a world that we all want to live in. So can you see here, for such a creative organisation that is scaled, this deep understanding around the importance of creativity, but also that emotional connection that's part of it. So if you're going to invent the future, you need to connect with others, not just at a logical level, but at an emotive level, so that we can all move forward together. Now, this thing about moving forward together, if you look at the world of video conferencing and the explosive growth of Zoom, who talk about being in this together to keep you securely connected wherever you are. What was it about Zoom and their philosophy on the world that enabled them to scale the business so rapidly? Sure, there were shifts going on at the time, but there were other companies positioned as well. So how did they lead differently? How did they think differently? By now, you're well familiar with the importance of diving into the thinking behind there. So you might be going, yes, I know Zoom. Do you know the name of the leader? Have you dug into it? Have you explored? So Zoom was founded by Eric Yuan. And what I love about Eric Yuan's thinking is that expansive mind flexing is at the heart of the actual origin of Zoom. So looking at how he founded the company, Eric shared that I first envisioned Zoom when I was a freshman in college in China and regularly took a 10-hour train ride to visit my girlfriend, who is now my wife. I detested those rides and imagined other ways I could visit my girlfriend without travelling. Those daydreams eventually became the basis for Zoom. So I'm sure in your organisation you talk a lot about the need to analyse. How often though do you talk about the need to daydream? Because each are critical, but that expansive thinking, that blue sky thinking, that ability to change the world doesn't come through analysis. It comes through the ability to daydream. So create is all about inventing with emotional connection, dreaming of new possibilities that shift us all forward. So I'll just patiently wait here while you just daydream for a while. Don't mind me, just carry on dreaming. Enjoy.